there, are you a local mom business owner? If so, we've got some exciting news to share with you all. The doors to our Working Moms of San Antonio business owners community are now open. Join us now in our supportive new community for local networking events, customizable social media templates, classes and workshops, business resources, and to be a part of our exclusive referral directory. We love to help our working mom business owners grow, so visit workingmomsofsanantonio.com/membership or just click the link in the show notes to join us. See you in the community.
We're Erica Reyes and Marie Lifschultz, a San Antonio area realtor and lender, but most importantly, we're working moms.
The goal of this podcast is to provide support and a sense of community to San Antonio area working moms like us. So join us in trying to find a balance between career, family, and everything in between. Welcome to this week's episode of the Working Moms of San Antonio podcast. We're here with Isabel Lopez, and she is a transformation coach. And so now we're going to turn it over to her and let her discuss all the things she's got going on.
Yes. Hi. Thank you guys so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I've been in your Working Moms group for a little while now too, so it's really nice. I love what you guys are doing with that. It's pretty, honestly, like out of all the Facebook groups, you guys are my favorite Facebook group because the people in it are nice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a nice group of ladies.
It is.
Definitely.
It's a lot of ladies, but it's a good group. They really truly want to help each other, and it's nice to have that community.
Yes, it is a nice community. So I am a transformation coach. I'm a certified Primal Health Coach, and I have been working as a health coach for about 6 years. Actually, no, my son's 9. So shortly after he was born, so more like 9 years now, I started working, helping women achieve their weight loss and health goals. At the time, I was struggling a little bit myself because I had just had a baby. And this has always just been kind of like, I've always been interested in, nutrition and health from a very young age, even though I didn't really approach it for the right reasons when I was younger. But I think the more that I got into it, I started to learn that, it wasn't so much about the negative things of it, which is like being skinny and like all these things, but it was more about being healthy and strong and, confident with yourself. And so I started, taking a different route, and that's really helped me come a long way in my career and as a person and the way I raise my family too.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's so hard. I mean, especially for women, we do a lot of us grow up with those sort of negative thoughts like, I've got to, and I know I do, I've got to diet, I've got to do this, I've got to be skinny. So I love that your approach is really more focusing on the healthy, sounds like healthy body, healthy mindset, and so
Right.
that's so important.
As I've always been I was an overweight child, overweight teen, and as an adult, and I think I started really, and I've always felt like I was confident. I liked myself, so I always had that. But I felt as I've gotten older, it's not so much the look. I'm still enjoy the way I look. It's just more, I need to make some decisions because it's going to affect me a lot later in life. That I realized my knees hurt a little bit more. Things are harder to do, and I don't like that part of it. I don't like that, it affects your sleep habits. So there's a lot of things that, and it changes, your health changes as you get older. Like things, after I had kids, I'm like, I had C-sections, and I'm like, I don't think he put stuff back the way like it was there before. Like things, your body changed, and things that worked before don't work after having kids again. So there's always unique, and there's so much misinformation on the internet and so forth. So you don't know what's out there that's true, So
there's just too much information out there. I mean, and honestly, like I think a lot of times, it's not the lack of knowledge. Many times people know what they should do, or they think they know what they should do because of all of the information online, but they either don't know how to apply it, or, you need like support. A lot of women don't have that in their homes. Men too, right? Like sometimes in a relationship, one's ready to get healthy and like just feel better and the other one isn't. And I think that, one, it affects the relationship, but two, it affects the person trying to make changes for themselves because the other one's just kind of pulling them back. And so having somebody who can support you and kind of like, give you advice and maybe help guide you a little bit is going to come a long, long way for that person.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely agree with that.
And that's what you do as a transformation coach, or is it sort of like accountability and that kind of stuff?
There's a lot of accountability. I have I work one-on-one and group, right? So we do a lot of one-on-one, with my client, right? Individually with each individual client, what they're going through, how I can help them individually. But then we also have a community aspect, and we'll do group coaching. So we'll have calls like we are right now, where we're all on it together and everybody can ask questions. Many times people have the same question. And so listening to one person ask it, they realize, oh, okay, it's a thing, right? And so everybody can just kind of feels comfortable and they make friends. And then you have all that accountability support from someone other than myself, right? You can get that from friends too, or maybe they start, if they're local to each other, which a lot of my clients are not even in San Antonio, they'll get together and, do things, go for walks or whatever, if they can, if they're near each other.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. No, that's great. That sounds like it would be super helpful.
Yeah.
A lot of times they struggle, just having to do it by themselves. So it's, it's just helpful to have somebody who can guide you through all of that. Yeah. And then when it comes to the nutrition and exercise part too, like one of the things that like women always tell me is like, hey, well, I need to lose weight. I've already started running, or I need to start running. And I don't even run at all. Like, you know what I mean? I really want women to understand that you don't have to go like pound the pavement and like feel horrible all the time in order to make progress. It's actually can be a very enjoyable process.
That's so good to know. That's like my least favorite thing. I hate that. But you do feel like you have to do it. Yeah. And it's like, my body just like, I'm not running unless I'm running away from something. You know what I mean? Like something will be after me. I just hate it. And so, that's so good to know.
I actually used to run a lot when I was younger. I did miles and miles a day. And I remember like, I was in so much pain all the time. My legs were always, just in pain, uncomfortable. And I didn't really see any change. So I didn't really, but I thought that's what I had to do. And so I did it anyway, because that's just always, when it comes to health and nutrition, that's just who I've always been. I would do the things even if I didn't like them. Thankfully, over the years, I have learned that I can, it's enjoyable, right? Like you don't have to run. In fact, walking is a way better exercise than running, because for one, if you're just doing it to like, you need to get steps in, burn calories, and you're going to be able to walk for a lot longer than you are going to be able to run. Right? So that makes sense in that sense. And then also, we already walk, right? So let's say you go out for like a mile walk, but that's not the only thing that counts, right? You also, you do chores and you go to the grocery store and you walk across the parking lot, and all of those things also count. So you don't actually have to like, run to all of the chores or anything in order to get that stuff done. Sometimes you don't even have to break a sweat. It's just about the movement. And like you were saying earlier, your knees hurting, walking's really going to help. And I have had clients so I had one client in particular that would tell me, her knees really hurt. And then one day she sent me a picture of her skating. And she's like, I never thought I would be able to do this, but because I've lost weight and I've been doing this, like my knees don't hurt anymore. And I'm skating, like roller skating. That is a huge deal for so many people. Like it's not an easy thing to do. So, you know what I mean? As you start moving around more, you can do all that stuff. But my main goal usually is to teach them about nutrition. So that's mainly where I got my start, is teaching people how to eat. And then I've started incorporating exercise now as I've seen how exercise has helped me as well.
Okay.
Right. But
Yeah.
I think nutrition is the biggest part of your health, and I think you can do a lot of things with food and just learning how to do it.
Yep.
But again, a lot of information's out there. It's just what is the right way and what works for. I'm assuming it would be individualized for that person because each person's different. So
In a lot of
um,
ways, they
yeah,
are different. It's not as different as you would
hmm
imagine, but yes, like
yeah,
everybody is different and they have different needs, energy
Right.
needs too, how active they are or how
yeah,
non-active they are.
yeah.
Yeah. So, who would you say is like your typical client? I mean, it sounds like you do help
Mhm.
women. Is it of a certain age group, or
Mhm.
how does that work?
Right. So I have, yeah, the majority of the women that I've worked with, I have also worked with men, though not as much. Um, but the majority of the people that I've worked with are women between the ages of 35 and 40. And
Okay.
I chose that age group because that's my age group. And I'm 40 years old and I just recently turned 40. But I want to be able to connect with my client, right? It just kind of wouldn't really make sense if I'm 25 years old, never had any kids, never had any
Yeah.
weight issues, but I'm trying to teach someone who's got all of these things
Right.
something that I've never even been through, right? So the best place to come from as a coach is experience, right? You've been there, you've gone through it, you came out the other end, stronger and better. And now you can help somebody else do it. And honestly, like I have been doing this for a long time, but even a person who, just being a little ahead of the person that they're teaching is enough, right? Like something that they don't know. So maybe
Right.
Yeah.
like, anybody could technically be a coach. It's like, I'll bring you along to my walks, right? And to see how well I'm doing. And all I'm doing is going for a walk.
Hmm.
And so now this person is going for a walk. Well, now you coach that person, right, to
Yeah.
go for walks and start improving their life. And so you just need to be a little bit ahead of the other person and be able to teach them and come from a place of experience. You don't want to teach them
Yeah.
something you don't know anything about.
Right. Right.
No, I
You
agree.
know,
Yeah.
that's a I'm a part of that age group as well. I'm 35 years old now. And I just wonder if part of your I guess work, does it ever have to do with like changing in hormones and different things like that? Like I feel like at 35 years old for me, it's so easy for me to put on weight and it's so hard for me to get it off, no matter if I exercise, no matter if I eat just vegetables, you know?
Yeah.
And so I just feel like there is a lot of like starting around 35 years old, there is a lot of like hormonal stuff going on with women.
Mhm.
And I wonder if you guys touch on any of that at all because it is to do with that particular age group.
Yeah. We do talk about hormones. I have found, and again, I have personally experienced kind of like premenopausal symptoms in the past.
Mhm.
Yeah, same.
Disturbance sleeping and like going to sleep but waking up and not being. And I struggled for actually a few years, especially after I had my son, um, and with weight gain and like weight loss and all that stuff. And it at the end of the day all came down to like what I was eating, what I was drinking, right?
Yeah.
I've learned that alcohol really affects that too. How am I exercising? Because exercise can be too much and it'll increase your stress. And then if you're like overly stressed at work, overly stressed at home, and then you're going to the gym and like doing this overly stressful workout, and then all of those things, and then not eating appropriately, probably cutting calories, so under eating, all of those things will definitely have an impact on your hormones. But it's not like, it's not this thing where, well, you know, I have to fix my hormones before I can lose weight or
Right.
before I
Yeah.
can eat healthier. Because if that's, it all goes together. Everything ties in together. And believe it or not, almost everything that you suffer in your body has to do with food, right? Because
Yeah.
it can either be medicine or it can be poison. And that is like super, like a really strong, might be a really strong statement, but it's
Yeah.
true, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you can be poisoning your body on a daily basis with the kinds of foods that you eat, or you can be nourishing your body. And all of those things will make an impact on your hormones for sure.
Yeah.
I agree with that. I think a lot of times, like if we're stressed, we eat things that maybe we shouldn't, and that just increases the
Makes it
opportunity
worse.
to gain weight. Yeah, and then I think the challenge is that after becoming a mom and someone who works, trying to fit it in and finding things that work and not feel guilty about it, I think is also a factor for a lot of people in age. I'm 43, so I'm a little old, in the older, but I've noticed it's just more difficult to, because the kids are more active. I'm getting them to their activities, but not taking care of myself a lot of the times. So it was, and I had lost some weight very recently, and I wasn't able, I don't think I did it the right way. I reduced calories, and I realized at that time, the only good thing about it is I realized I didn't drink enough water. Like water was a big deal. I didn't realize how much I didn't drink. But as soon as I got out of my habits, the weight just came back on. Like it wasn't something that was sustainable. And I realized like, it has to be a little bit different. So can you talk about a little bit of how your program works, Isabel? Like things that you do with a client? Like what is something or a day like that looks like for you?
Right. So I call it the SLEW method, right? Because it's an acronym for sleep, lift, eat, walk, right? And so these 4 things need to be done. And you could start with just one thing, right? And then add to it as you get better at doing the things. Or you could start doing them all at once. But doing them consistently is what's going to really take you a long way, right? So those 4 things done over and over again over time will make a difference, right? So sleep is, I think, up there with food, probably the most important part of it. And we all struggle with it, right? After we have kids, because of the kids, and then hormones and all of this stuff. But what we eat and how late we eat really affect our sleep. Scrolling really affects our sleep. So one of the main things that I would want people to do is like focus on getting better sleep. And what happens is that if you're well rested and you feel better in the morning, maybe you'll wake up a little bit earlier and now you have time to eat a healthy breakfast, right? Instead of like waking up last minute to go to work, rush, because you're tired from the day before and you didn't get enough sleep. So it all connects, right? Lifting weights, I highly recommend lifting weights for women. And I know that's probably like a huge topic. And maybe if you guys have questions about that, let me know. Because we have been told not to lift weights, or like lifting weights is for men, or it's going to make you bulky, and all of these things that are absolutely not true. And I think that it has really affected women in the long run because as we age, first of all, we need muscle in our body, right? Whether it's muscle we were born with and just kind of naturally have, or we build muscle. But as we age, we lose muscle. As soon as you turn 30, I think maybe 35, you start losing muscle. Every year you lose a certain percent of muscle. And if you don't do anything about it, then you get older and now your bones start to get weaker. You know what I mean? And as you age, you have trouble moving and walking. And so muscle, what's going to do is help you stand up straight, keep your hips, protect your bones, right? And so you're able to last longer without needing help from people to get up and sit down and walk here and go to the toilet. Also, I've noticed, and I've noticed this in myself, is that, because I've noticed it like in younger generation too, they fall a lot. People fall, right? All the time. And I have tripped many times, but I never fall. And I realize now that it's because I'm strong enough to like stop myself and hold myself up, or balance, you know what I mean? Catch my balance if I tripped. And a lot of people who constantly fall is because of that. You know what I mean? They don't have the balance, they don't have the strength to hold themselves up when they trip, or any little thing makes them tip over. And so lifting weights is super important for women.
That makes sense. I mean, I think a lot of jobs have become sedentary. Like we don't do a lot of manual jobs, so we're not. I mean, we lose just sitting around. I do. My job is at a desk, on a computer, on the phone. So I think you're right. Like the more you're on, you don't move and you're not building that muscle. That's why a lot of people break hips. They have issues with their legs and so forth as they get older. And once they do that, it's hard to. And if you're older, to get healthier, but to get back to it. So it makes a lot of sense.
I use a story often that actually I heard from my mentor. He talks about, how older, old ladies or old men often die from like hip fractures, right?
Yes.
And it's not so much the hip fracture that killed them, but let's say they got up at night to go to the bathroom, which maybe shouldn't have happened because you should be able to sleep through the night without having to go to the bathroom. But let's say, so that's one. And then they get up and they maybe trip and they can't hold themselves up. So they fall and they break a hip because they don't have anything to protect them from breaking the hip. And then they go to the hospital. And then their heart and their lungs can't really sustain all of that stress because they're not very active. And then they get pneumonia. So it's like, you know what I mean? Like one thing
So
after the
domino
other.
effect.
And just kind of,
domino effect.
Right. And so like my mentality about life and about people in general is to try to avoid that. Like, what can we do to, not be the fragile old lady that we're all going to end up being old ladies, but do we have to be, fragile and sick? And how are we going to age? Like, it's okay. We're all going to age, but are we going to start getting sick at the age of 30? You start getting sick and just kind of live miserably for the rest of your life? Or, you're active, you're healthy, and you age, and then one day you die without having all of the, enjoy your entire life. Instead of like the last 20 years it being like you feeling like an old woman who can't really do anything. You know what I mean?
That's not fun. That's not fun at all.
No, it can be fun. So like my whole mentality about everything is like having the best life possible as we age.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And also muscle really helps to burn fat and not gain weight. So like earlier you were mentioning, you talked about how you lost some weight, but then as soon as you stopped doing certain things, you gained it all back. First of all, that's always going to happen, right? Because like you need to put your habits into place forever. Like you can't really ever stop eating healthy. You can't ever stop exercising because those things will come back. But also how fast is something that you can control, because if you lift weights and you have muscle, then your body is better able to process the kinds of foods that you eat. And you burn more calories with doing less. Right. And so all the, it's just really, really important.
Well, I think in this situation, I lost 50 pounds, which was wonderful. And I didn't realize how much pressure was on my knees. I didn't think I hurt, but then I'm like, oh, this is not so bad. This is actually great. But the calorie intake that I was taking was a lot, was not sustainable. I didn't realize I needed to eat more. And like, it was, but, so building habits that you can continue to do. So yes, you're going to lose weight if you don't eat. I mean, that's going to happen, but that's not sustainable. You can't do that. So I realized, I didn't get it all back, but I gained some of it back, and it's frustrating. I'm like, I built better eating habits, but I don't know how to get back. And I mean, like I'm struggling with that part, and it's frustrating. But I think but I wasn't incorporating, building muscle. Like it was really focused on my diet and what I was eating, and water intake was a big deal.
And that's a huge, that's okay, right? The more you implement good eating habits, you will eventually have more energy, and on your own, you might be like, oh, maybe I'll start exercising. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be like everything. You don't have to start everything now, but like, as you see that you're feeling better, maybe you can be like, maybe I can work out a couple of days a week now. And things like that is little by little. It doesn't have to be all at once either. Although it does help to see more change faster.
Yes. It's motivating. I can tell you that. It's motivating.
I know my issue, especially being a working mom, is that I sometimes don't have time to eat, or I don't make time to eat. So like I'll have coffee for breakfast in the morning, and I won't eat, all day. And then at night I'm so freaking hungry that I will overeat and just eat whatever, you know what I mean? And so it's like, and I just feel like the weight has just come on and on and on and on, and it's like, I know that, like you said before, the things that you have to do, but then you just have to like do those things, what I'm saying?
How do I do those things? How do I make it work? For sure. And like I said, they're just habits over time. So you have to make it a point. Like if you, like you said, you're busy, right? And you're working. So getting up earlier to have breakfast will take you a long way because now you won't be so hungry later. But what do you have to do in order to be able to get up earlier? Right. And
Yeah.
so we go back to sleep,
Right.
right? Make sure you're getting enough sleep. And then another big thing that because I only eat twice a day, right? And you would think a lot of people are always telling you like, oh, you need to eat every 2 hours. I personally don't think that's true. Actually, it's not even the right mindset
Okay.
because every time we eat, we get like insulin spikes, right? And so the best thing to do is to constantly keep your blood sugar as stable as possible. And so if you only eat twice a day, you can eat 3 times a day, as many times as you feel comfortable eating. But my point is like, you don't have to eat 6 times a day, right? And have all these little meals prepped because that takes off a bunch of time. But I get up in the morning and I usually don't have breakfast until noon or 1, right?
Okay.
And that's what time I feel hungry. So there's that, right? It doesn't have to be a 6 morning breakfast. Ultimately, breakfast is just breaking your fast. Whatever time you break your fast, that's what time your breakfast is.
That's breakfast.
So make that first meal epic, right? Protein, healthy fats. Stay away from the processed carbohydrates, sugar, cereal, Pop-Tarts, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And just make it a big, healthy, protein-filled meal. And that's going to carry you for a long period of time because you're going to be full for a long time, satisfied mainly. And what I've noticed is just like a reduction in cravings, which is a big deal for women. I find are constantly telling me, what do I do about my cravings and my cravings?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not going to give you something to satisfy your sweet tooth because then you won't get rid of your sweet tooth. It's not sweet teeth or sweet teeth. Sweet tooth isn't something that we're just born with. It's something that we create from eating sugar, right? Because it's a sugar addiction pretty much. And so if I give you something for that, then you're just going to continue wanting more. So instead, what you have to do is eat enough so you're satisfied, and then that will keep you from like wanting to snack here and there. You know what I mean? Especially in the evening. And I find the evening wanting to eat is a lot of a habit, and personally too. For me, if I'm like, I'm going to have a snack today, then tomorrow I'll want another one in the evening.
I know I do.
It just happens constantly. So I have to actually like make a mental note to myself of like, no, I don't eat after this time. And then every day I kind of have to fight it a little bit and be like, no, I'm not going to eat. But of course, I fed myself earlier. So maybe like, what time do you normally go to bed and eat a good, like, even if it's your only meal of the day, make it a big, healthy meal at that time so that you're satisfied enough that you're not like craving anything later on.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Well, I think a lot of women tend to snack in the evenings because they've slowed down. Like you've gotten your chores done, you got the kids to bed, you got them bathed, work is done for the evening, hopefully. And you're like, I can breathe. What's in the freezer? Or, what's what can I, you slowed down.
And it's your time to just kind of like, rest and like watch a little TV. And I get that completely, right? Like, but it can definitely be a problem. The nighttime snacking can be a huge problem, and it affects your sleep so much too, for sure. Like, if you've eaten 2 hours prior to going to sleep, you're going to sleep a lot better than if you eat right before. Your heart rate just has to increase, your blood, your energy, like your body temp has to increase in order to process all that food. And when we sleep, our body temp needs to decrease to get a good night's sleep. And so you're kind of making it warm up instead of
definitely makes sense.
We're making it hard on ourselves.
We are. Just our schedule in general, I think, as working moms, we do that to ourselves and we don't realize the damage that we're doing. And like, I realize I feel miserable when I eat right before bed. And you have indigestion, you wake up more, and it's not, it's not fun.
And you wake up in the morning kind of with a stomach ache.
Or sluggish. You're real sluggish.
Sluggish.
Yeah. It's hard to wake up.
Well, that's so interesting. Well, it sounds like there are a lot of benefits to using some coaching services like yours. But can you tell us what are some of the favorite things that you like about what you're doing in your work?
Mhm. Well, the thing that I like the most is when I see the women getting results, right?
Yeah.
Because it kind of changes, they're just so proud of themselves, or they'll change the way they dress, or you know what I mean. They just look different and they become happier. And I mean, I can tell that difference just in their face sometimes, like because I do track um, through progress pictures too, right?
Hmm.
And it's always very noticeable. Like their first picture, usually they don't even want to look at themselves. They're just kind of like looking to the
Yes.
distance and like frowning. And then their last picture, they're like, yeah, So
Yeah. I need to
it's
get to
just
that
their
final
face.
picture.
Woo.
You want to get to the final picture, and it just changes the way they feel about themselves, their confidence. Um, they start doing this on their own. But I always have to insist because it's very like I have had clients that kind of like after working with me, they just kind of like go back to how things were, and then eventually they gain the weight back, and it breaks my heart. But and so I don't know if I've started doing this over time because of that, or like several times throughout my coaching with them is like, this is not over. Like
Yes.
just because your relation and our relationship's not over, but our business relationship is over, doesn't mean that it's over for you. Because I mean, yeah, let's say you lost 30 pounds, but is at the end, like, is that all you wanted to lose? You probably want to lose more. In order to do that, you need to continue like sleeping, lifting your weights, eating the right foods, taking your daily walks, forever. And I mean, I'm not saying if you miss one day, nothing's going to happen. And see, but that's the thing too. Like the longer that you do this, now you can like one day you can go on vacation for a week, not exercise, eat what you like, drink, and then not really see any weight gain during that week. It's not even something that you have to think about. And guilt is a major thing that I like to work with women on because it's like you have been working for the last 10 years constantly telling yourself that you need to eat less, right? And you eat a cupcake and you eat it and you don't even enjoy it because in the back of your mind, you're constantly thinking, "Oh, I shouldn't be eating this and I'm what?"
Right.
And it's just like, and it's torture. And so you enjoy that cupcake for like 2 minutes. And then after that, you just hate yourself. And we don't want that. Like, I
Yeah.
don't want that for anybody, right? Including myself. And so for the most part, I don't really eat any junk. But if today I was like, I really want like some ice cream, I'll go and find myself a good ice cream that I'm really going to enjoy. And I'm going to eat that ice cream and I'm not even going to momentarily give it a thought. But I mean, 99% of the time, I'm doing the work, I'm eating the right food, I'm getting the right sleep. So like that ice cream has like no effect, right? And there's going to
Yeah.
Yeah.
be no change in my body at all. All I have to do is that after that ice cream, the next day or whatever, I keep doing the things that I need to do. So when you get back from vacation, enjoying your life and your family and your fun and your food and doing all the things that you love doing, you come back and it's not going to take you 6 months putting all the way back to start over.
Yeah.
Instead, you're just going to come home and now it's part of your lifestyle. So, oh, we're home now. So, time to go for my walk, time to get my workout in, time to make sure I eat the right foods. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
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 So,
No,
it just
definitely.
kind of all has to kind of become part of your life. It's a lifestyle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
But
that's
it's
true.
consistency. I mean,
Mhm.
I think I read somewhere that it takes 30 days to build a habit. So if you're consistent for 30 days, eventually it becomes a habit that it won't feel like it's work. You
Right.
know.
No, and you're absolutely right. But
Yeah.
I've seen people break their habit after 30 days
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
fall back completely. So, and it does make it easier, but I think it takes it probably a little bit longer than that to like really let it click and just stick around
Yeah.
because
Right.
I don't know. I honestly don't know how long it actually takes. It does take 30 days to create the
Yeah.
habit, but for it to stick around, it could be a little bit longer than that. So
I
you have
think
to always.
the part of the accountability, the support group that you offer within the business is a big part of the component, or the biggest component probably, in maintaining a healthy lifestyle, is having that support. Someone saying, hey, did you go for your walk? Or, even if they're not, in the coaching process at that time, it's still having someone who's done the journey with you, who cares about your well-being, and have that support group. Because I think,
and knowing that somebody's going to check in on you and ask you, it's going to be like, oh, I got to go get my
I don't want to take my picture and show her because I'm going to be embarrassed.
Yeah. And it's always good to have a group support. Like, my program is 16 weeks long, and I do it that way because that's how long it takes to, like you said, make it stick around and actually see results, because I want my clients to see it happen while they're still with me, right? I mean, there's so many like programs out there. There's like 30 days, and 30 days is not enough, right? Like,
what can you see in 30 days?
Not really.
No, you might lose maybe 5, maybe 10 pounds if you're lucky, but it's not. You're not going to continue to get results from probably doing those things over and over, because your body changes and you kind of need to change things up sometimes. The way that you eat, how much you eat, what kind of exercise you're doing, all of those things sometimes need to change, or you do better because now you're at a higher level, so you can do a little bit better. So yeah, I mean, so I like for it to be a long program, so I can see, I can take you through the whole thing. And then at the end of that, I do have like a coaching container where it's just like bare minimum monthly check-in, and you still get your workouts from me, and you still get your your community, but it's not like the 16 weeks are a lot more intense, right?
Right.
And then after that, it's just me checking in on you. You can still communicate with me, and then you're part of a monthly call, so that way we can check how you're doing and making sure that you're continuing your progress, and you're still working and you're still putting in the effort. You know what I mean?
I like that. I really do. I think that's a great option to have that community afterwards and have someone to support you. Right. I really like that.
Yeah. Great. Well, at the end, we sort of usually have our guests say how folks can get a hold of you for your services.
Oh, okay. Well, let's see. I have my Instagram profile, which is Paleo Lola. And then I have my Facebook group is Sustainable Weight Loss for Busy Moms. So I think you mentioned sustainability earlier, and I was like, that's what my program's called that, because you want to be able to do this long term.
Right.
And then, of course, you can DM me through, or my Facebook, just my regular Facebook is Isabel Lopez. So you can DM me through any one of those profiles, and you can reach out to me from there. And then I do have my Calendly link, which is on my profiles.
Got it.
Perfect. Great. Well, thank you so much for being on. I learned so much information about what I should be doing and what I'm not doing. So I hope that. Yeah. And I'm sure our listeners have as well. And then I also just want to thank our listeners for tuning into this week's episode of the Working Moms of San Antonio podcast. And we will catch you guys next week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thanks so much for tuning in to the Working Moms of San Antonio podcast. Be sure to follow us on social media at our respective Instagram accounts, or join our Working Moms of San Antonio Facebook group. Those links can be found in our episode description. If you have an episode topic suggestion or question, please email us at office@radisagent.com. And be sure to subscribe to the podcast and leave us a review. See you next week.